presentation today, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, the platform for advanced work packaging. My name is Chuck Meese. I'm happy to welcome you today. I'm going to be joined by a cast of talented people today, and what we're going to be doing is walking you through the opportunities that Autodesk sees with advanced work packaging. As I mentioned, my name's Chuck Meese. I'm on the global business development team at Autodesk. Been in industry for 37 years, working in the industrial space for the last 5. What my team does is we tend to look at the overall ecosystem of a particular project or type and try to understand all of the workflows. I've been involved a lot in CII, currently the vice chair of the strategic planning committee for CII, involved in a couple of the CBAs as well as some of the research projects. I'd like the rest of my staff to introduce themselves, so we'll start with Cody.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cody Austin. I'm a technical solutions executive here at Autodesk. Been in the industrial space for 15 years, and I'm based in Houston, Texas. And I'm very happy to be part of this year's AWP conference.
My name's John Banda. I'm also a technical solutions executive. I've been with Autodesk now for about two years. Prior to that, about 15 plus years in the oil and gas industry as information management. I currently sit on several AWP committees, including the Data Requirements Committee, and I'm about to take over as the chair of the IMCBA. John?
Hello, I'm the second John Rodriguez. Welcome to the conference. I'm also part of the Technical Solutions Executive Team as part of named accounts, focused on industrialized construction, owner-operators, and EPCs. I've been around Autodesk Technologies for 30 years, both as a customer and as a Autodesk employee.
Well, you get plenty of time to hear from these gentlemen later in the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. As we work through our presentation today, especially during the QA session, we want to be able to answer your questions honestly. So as a publicly traded software company, we may make forward-looking statements in one of those answers. We ask that you understand that these are forward-looking statements, that you do not make any purchasing decisions based on these statements, and that we have no obligation to update these statements. A little bit of GoToWebinar logistics. So you are currently watching through GoToWebinar. You don't have to worry about muting because of the logistics of GoToWebinar. Nobody can hear you. The big thing that I want to point out is during our presentation, should you have questions, please type them into the QA pane. Don't use the chat panel. So I've highlighted the question pane here on the slide so you can understand that. So what are we going to talk to you about over the next 55 or so minutes? Well, our agenda today is to give you a brief introduction of the Autodesk Construction Cloud as a platform. We're then going to talk about 4 specific workflows that we've seen our customers implementing to get started in the world of advanced work packaging. We'll walk you through those 4 key workflows. We're also going to introduce those partners who have chosen to integrate with our platform, and then we'll come back for some final thoughts. So let's start by talking about the Autodesk Construction Cloud. I want to start by asking you a question today, and that is, what is your new possible? When we think about the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we think about 3 areas in which we have key principles on the Autodesk Construction Cloud and things that we invite our customers to. The first area is digitization. We have to enable the construction industry to move into the digital age. We've got to work on getting the paper out of the field and taking some of these high latency workflows and compressing them through the use of digitization. But it's also about integration. So if we're going to digitize, then we have the opportunity to integrate, where we can start to look at systems that can integrate with each other to create more advanced workflows, again, driving latency out of the process. And if we've digitized and we've integrated, then we create the opportunity to optimize. So now that all of the information is digital, what are the insights and analytics that we can gain out of this for optimization of our existing processes? That's our Construction Cloud key principles. When we apply those key principles to advanced work packaging, we feel that our solution has to be scalable. It has to be cost effective to deploy on any project, from the smallest projects to some of the large projects. It also has to be able to be deployed simply and easily. And that leads into our next one, which is cloud-based. So if you think about cloud-based tools and the ease of deployment in cloud-based tools, we want you to understand that we are fully committed to the cloud at Autodesk, and hence we call the product the Autodesk Construction Cloud. We're also big believers in getting paper out of the field. So we want to get rid of those high latency paper workflows and drive it to the more digitized workflows. We're also very focused on being industry standard. Industry standard in two ways: from a security perspective, supporting ISO 27001, SOC 2, and other industry standard security protocols, but also industry standard from working with ISO 15926, 19650, CFOS, and other information standards that exist within our AWP practice. We also believe that our platform should be open. I've mentioned one of the sections today will be introducing you to our integration partners. This shows the strengths of the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform and how open it is and the ability to be integrated with. And our last key tenet for our AWP principles is that we believe we have to be agnostic. Data shouldn't be locked in a silo. We should be able to either consume or integrate with data from other platforms, and that is how we take the approach of being platform agnostic. I mentioned earlier we're going to talk to you today about 4 key workflows. What I want to do is give you these key workflows as a way for you to start your AWP journey. The first key workflow is collaborative design. If you think about the beginning of the process and the importance of having engineering looped into your advanced work packaging processes, it's important to have a platform that promotes collaborative design. Cody's going to talk to you about some of the things he's been doing with his customers to promote this collaborative design aspect. If we move a little further then into the workflow, now that we have a collaborative design environment, and as we move into construction, we feel it's important to connect the field. And the opportunity that exists in connecting the field and making sure that those people in the field have the most current, most relevant information, we feel is one of the key tenets of a successful solution. Then as we move further into the workflow, we'll talk to you about some work that John Rodriguez has been doing with completions and commissioning, and some of the things that he's been working with one of his customers to, again, reduce some of the paper in those workflows. And then Cody's going to come back and wrap it all up and talk to you about some of the benefits you can gain in insight and analytics by using all 3 of the previous workflows and putting this together into a single platform. So our first workflow is indeed going to be collaborative design. I'm going to turn it over to Cody, and Cody's going to walk you through this workflow.
All right, thank you, Chuck. So these past couple of years have been really interesting in terms of project execution. The global pandemic has caused many of us to work remotely, and a lot of EPCs and owners really struggled at that challenge, trying to get laptops and hardware to people at home, try to get people, and also make sure that they have access to the applications and data they need to execute their projects and create their deliverables. Another challenge a lot of EPCs have had in project deliveries around inconsistent standards and legacy applications that really weren't able to meet these challenges. I know many of you have probably been accessing and working on project deliverables on a shared drive and are having to access that information over VPN, from your home, and performance has probably not been the best. And so I'm working with customers, one in particular, around standardizing their global project delivery processes and standardizing the data and structure in which they execute those projects and deliver those projects, particularly on the engineering and design side of things. So we're working with this customer to implement our solution and providing a standardized environment with a standardized project file structure and standardized permissions to make sure that people are able to find the information that they have access to very easily and quickly to continue the progress of those work in progress deliverables. And with this customer, we're helping them eliminate 107 on-premise servers, and we are now deploying an automated, standardized environment for project execution. So collaborators annually, and we'll talk about the benefits of this platform and of this solution. Foundationally is having a common data platform. As I mentioned, typically it's been the J drive or the project drive on the network share, when we were back working in the office and had decent connections back to relevant data. But now with the disruption of COVID, we need a cloud-based environment that not only internal stakeholders can collaborate in and work on those project deliverables, but also be able to invite those external parties to the same platform to collaborate and share project information in real time, moving the needle forward in terms of productivity. Some of these data sources, like you saw, reality capture data, point cloud data, have been very hard to distribute and collaborate on in the past. But now with the cloud, we're making all sorts of data more easily accessible, things like 3D models and point clouds, but also your traditional PDF documents and Microsoft Office files. And we're really democratizing access to this data by providing the ability to view and interact with this data over the web, through the cloud, or on mobile devices, without the need for the authoring applications. And projects that are creating deliverables within this system are really getting unprecedented visibility and access to data that they have never had before. We'll talk more about the type of visibility and insight analytics in a follow-up section. But as many teams are involved in creating project deliverables. You have your typical engineering contractors, but they're also collaborating with other parties, maybe JV partners, subcontractors, or even suppliers, pipe fabricators, structural fabricators, equipment suppliers. And you need to be able to collaborate in a sense that everybody has access to the latest information, and that you're able to really improve decision making and get those deliverables out the door more quickly. And being able to manage this influx of information can be quite a challenge. And so we're making it very easy to be able to consume packages from external parties, be able to understand what's changed or what updates have come across in these packages, and incorporate those into our designs to make them more effective and reduce rework in the field. And speaking of rework, nobody likes that. Nobody likes RFIs when the pipe installer is trying to install that pipe spool out in the field and it doesn't fit. We're working with our customers to really catch these issues before they reach the field. By being able to coordinate these multi-discipline models in the cloud and have things like automated clash detection and be able to democratize access to those clashes and visibility into what's clashing, and allow people to, in a more ad hoc sense, understand how their designs are impacting others, is really valuable. And it's ultimately about managing those clashes and those coordination issues, and holding those parties accountable to resolve any said clashes before the pipe spool is fabricated and reaches the field. Where those issues are much more expensive to resolve than if we had caught them much earlier on in the process. And with as project deliverables are being developed, as work in progress is taking place, change is a constant, and being able to understand change is hugely valuable and can be very difficult with traditional methods. Our solutions are making understanding change very easily and providing you with great visuals and supporting data to help people downstream understand what has changed in maybe 2 versions or 2 revisions of a deliverable that they're taking a look at. And so being able to understand what's changed and how that impacts any downstream tasks can be quite valuable. As project deliverables mature, they then go through different reviews or checks, squad checks, ISO checks, other issued for review or issued for approval type checks. Our solutions help our customers standardize those project processes around those reviews and those checks, and allow the people from the project team to understand what needs to be reviewed, what's the current status, where are my bottlenecks, who's next in the review process, and allow for all stakeholders in that review process to be able to comment and easily mark up those documents or 3D models or drawings that are a part of that review process. Oftentimes, or back when we were all in the office, these drawings would be printed out with maybe a traveler on top, and as soon as that stack of drawings was sent to the first person in the review process, that project manager lost all visibility into where are we with the reviewing of those documents. And oftentimes they're manually marked up, or they may be opened up, in a third-party solution, maybe an Adobe, Reader, for example, and marked up and then saved back into a system. By centralizing this entire process in the cloud really helps move things forward in terms of progressing your project deliverables. And the 3D model review is another process that has been disrupted by COVID. Oftentimes we would all be sitting in a conference room together. Some 3D model guru would be sitting behind the wheel, probably using Navisworks to orientate and navigate the 3D model for the different stakeholders in the room. And then maybe using tags and Navisworks, or using an Excel spreadsheet. Model review and feedback was captured in an Excel document. And so, oftentimes the 3D model and that feedback is often disconnected, and it makes it really difficult to, get visibility into what are the outstanding issues that need to be resolved. Maybe designs need to be changed, and really by digitizing this process and by facilitating this process in a central location and democratizing access to the 3D model, we're able to conduct, not only formal but informal model reviews. We're able to get this 3D model into the right hands, into the right, the right stakeholders taking a look at the 3D model and providing that valuable feedback. Here is an example of a gusset plate. We want to take a look at this gusset plate once it's further detailed by the structural detailer, to make sure it's not going to run into the pipe spool or the pipeline to the right of it. And as I mentioned, many customers are using Navisworks today and its capabilities to facilitate model reviews. And at Autodesk, we've integrated our cloud applications and our desktop applications so that they're looking at the same data at the same time. And that feedback captured through issues and issues management are centralized. So no matter if the issue is captured in Navisworks or the issue is captured in the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we're centralizing that feedback so that we can then easily report on that information and get a log of all the current feedback from different stakeholders and what's the status. And this data can be very valuable down the road in terms of insight and analytics and identifying risk, and leveraging perhaps historical data to start predicting risk. And we'll talk more about that. But to wrap things up, Autodesk is providing a great platform to facilitate engineering and design, deliverable management, and collaboration by providing a common data platform, by helping those designers and other team members collaborate on those designs and coordinate those designs to ensure clash-free designs in the field, and then to facilitate those typical processes in terms of putting those drawings through a review process and then collaborating and reviewing the 3D models. And we're helping our customers reduce IT spend and really deploy a standardized solution globally for our customers so that we can then take advantage of that standardized data to start doing cross-project analysis. And so we'll talk more about that in the Insight and Analytics section. So that wraps up my section. I'm now going to hand it over to John Banda, who's going to talk about extending this platform to the field with construction. Over to you, John.
Thank you. And extending is a great term for this. So like Cody was just saying, you can get so much for connecting engineering, but now we'll talk about how you take that mature, that rich information that you've had in engineering, and hopefully through collaboration with construction through AWP, and how construction can leverage that in the field. So one of the challenges that I hear a lot over the last year especially is we've got this model, we've got a really rich model that's been created in design, and I want to see it in the field, but I don't just want to see it in the field, I want to be able to see it on my phone. I don't always have a laptop with me, I don't always have my tablet, but I always have the phone. And the constraints of a smartphone are such that it's not as powerful as a tablet. So you really need to be a little bit more careful in how you go about delivering that model to the field. So I've seen this on very large brownfield projects, smaller revamps. This is really a trend that I'm seeing more and more with how can I get this model to the field? I know there's one in design, but I don't have that design tool. And so many customers have been surprised that you don't need that design tool. Like Cody said, all you really need is Navisworks, and coupled with a partner solution of ours, IConstruct, you can actually take that very rich, large scale, even a full plant facility model and cut it down to something manageable. You can restructure it so you can actually see those attributes, and you can take it to the field on your phone and it perform just as seamlessly as it was on a desktop. So the results, there's so many different use cases for what you would use this for in the field. But on the whole, I'm hearing 1 to 2 hours a day saved for each person who has access to that model right there on the phone to collaborate in the field. So construction is a collaborative process. AWP is about, being better and more, structured around that collaboration. But it's still fragmented. At each stage, you have construction pulling in more information. They're contributing more if you're adopting the AWP principles. But we still have this handover from stage 1 to stage 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Sometimes it's one contractor, sometimes it's multiple. So by connecting construction, in the next slide, you'll be able to see some new possibilities. Construction being able to collaborate more with engineering, like Cody was showing you, but engineering being able to collaborate more with the field and the construction team, and the construction team being able to coordinate more with the owner of the site facility. So this is where the possibilities really begin with connected construction, being able to share those drawings, the models, and all the other information to really digitize that workspace, the work phase. So you're going to eliminate that time that you need to go back to a trailer, or you need to go back to the truck, or you need to go find someone with that folder or that roll of documents that you need, and you're able to access them right there while you're looking at the problem. You don't need to carry around a laptop or a large tablet to scale up to the top of a tower. You can do it right there at your phone. So, you're going to eliminate that wasted time, and you're going to make yourself safer because you have that latest information right there with you before you make a decision. Of course, now that you have all this information, a lot of people I just want to see the model. I just want to view it. I want to click attributes. I really don't need to do anything more with it. But every time this happens, they start moving around in that model. They start navigating an isometric or PNID. And they're like, oh, I can just select and create an issue or add a picture or be able to communicate back with the office or another craft team without ever having to pick up the phone or call, find out where someone is, send out a bunch of emails and wait for a response. It's logged there, it's tracked, and you can actually get a roll-up report of those issues and RFIs for contingency planning and constraint management. So you're able to leverage this information just looking at the model from the field and being able to just tag in specific information and equipment. So this is just an overview of the workflow. On the bottom left, you're going to see the design model, and this can be in any design tool that can produce a Navisworks file. You take that Navisworks file, and if needed, you can optimize it in IConstruct so you can view the attributes, so you can access it faster on the phone, especially for those very, very large models. And you just take that Navisworks file and put it in BIM 360, and now everyone has access to it. And what you see here on the right is just examples of the different things you can do. Adding photos, going through different workflows, RFIs, all right there at your phone, just like any app you use. So at a glance, this is going to improve your decision making. It'll increase the quality of the information you have from the field, and that the field's able to provide back to the office and the construction teams and the design teams and the operators. And this all increases safety because you're working with higher quality information and you're not having to run around and take additional steps to find it. Thank you. John?
All right, thanks, John. That was awesome. A lot of common themes here. My next section here is around completions and commissioning, and really continuing with the theme that we just heard from Cody and John around connecting field workflows while also transitioning away from paper-based field activities. This next customer case study that will help, it's going to illustrate the power of a connected platform and really truly what is possible through partnerships with data integrators. So we're going to hear a little data integration story here, really digital, integrated, and also automated. That's the theme of this future-ready digital completions and commissioning strategy. really a data-centric approach. And so the challenge was, in this case, oftentimes construction projects that are not consistently prepared for commissioning teams, which ultimately impacts time, schedule, budget, startups. This particular project is a replacement project of a major in-ground pipeline. Our solution is really to digitize and improve those checklists and integrate through multiple data systems, and really introduce automation, 100% digital asset commissioning process. In this case, to date, 4,800 asset tags and checklists. And then the results, right? You do it for the results. These asset checklists are connected, they're 100% digital, and really they're centrally located for easy access. And of course, visibility. So the two primary solution components, which are really cloud platforms, Datum 360 and Autodesk Construction Cloud. At the time, Datum 360 was already in progress. They were developing a digital asset class library. They were developing a data information management solution to support the project in what is called CLS 360 and PIM 360. When they were ready to do some field execution to test it, they realized they were about to go to clipboards and paper, and they realized they needed to bring in a solution to bring access to that information in the field. That's when Autodesk was called in. We were called into the project to really support the continuation of the digital data model that Datum had put together and extend it and remain digital to the field. And we did that in the form of digital check sheets using field management out of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. As I mentioned, the project team was set to conduct field tests when they realized that they were about to go do this all digital data and put it on paper and clipboards. The project, really what we did is successfully integrated digital commissioning check sheets using a templatized approach. Specific commissioning templates were developed for each asset tag that were established through the Datum 360 class library. And once these templates were created, through API integrations, the system would automatically create those check sheets, initiate them, pull the correct check sheet template for the specific asset. Each check sheet was then automatically auto-filled through Datum 360 into the headers for the asset data, and that all came through the class library system and the PIM 360 environment, and then into the Autodesk Construction Cloud check sheets. Essentially, we eliminated errors for manual administrative work, and we really automated thousands of hours of manual efforts. Through the digital field reports, check sheet templates and forms can be associated with the assets automatically, and will support a paperless completions and commissioning process in the field. Again, on mobile devices, as John just mentioned, it could be your phone, which everyone has in their pocket at this time of day and age, right? But really, where we're seeing also is moving that through into asset management. Initially, the asset management module was not part of this solution, but we were able to bring this on board through the ability and agility of the APIs. So managing and consolidating the asset information in a single location, which is really an enhancement to what Datum 360 was already doing, and really bringing trackability to manage those tags through the project lifecycle, and also open up other capabilities around integrations of documents to that asset, RFIs, issues, photos, really connecting all the other data sorts around that asset management solution, really kind of starting the journey into a digital twin. How do we do this? How is this all connected? We through the power of an open API platform that was built on Autodesk Forge, we leveraged public and private APIs where we shared and opened data between Datum 360 and Autodesk Construction Cloud, really bringing data connectivity across a lifecycle workflow to support this project. What was really driving the specific workflows and the connections that were going to be required was really a customer's requirements matrix, really a list of these overall requirements that were established, which then allowed us to define what specific capabilities would be necessary to support. And then we mapped those capabilities to which solution. We did have gaps. Initially, we had gaps, and how were those gaps covered? We covered those through enhancements that came to the platform as they were brought to the platform. Being that we're continually improving on the platform, we'll see these enhancements come over time, many times within months of needing the capability. So finally, what does this engineering information model look like? Really agile connections built through Forge API integrations, really low code access. And this allowed data custody and data portability across systems, conditioning across systems, opening up enhanced workflows to extend the digital strategy beyond that. If we look at this, let's look at the stats at a glance. The impact really resulted in reduced review resolution times. We increased as-built accuracy, and we improved closeout with 50% productivity gains in closing out this project. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. While we get transitioned over, I just want to remind everybody that the question panel is there. If you have any questions about anything that you've heard or learned today, please put in a question there, and we'll be happy to answer that at the end of the presentation. I'm going to be covering insight and analytics, and this is a really interesting topic because everybody wants insight. Everybody wants to be able to visualize trends and see trends, and everybody wants to be able to predict risk. But there's one fundamental challenge, I think, to all of this, and it's around data and data standards and data consistency. And EPCs are executing projects all the time of different sizes in different markets for different owners, using different tools and processes, and that really complicates things. Because if you don't have consistent data, you're spending a lot of time cleaning up that data, normalizing that data, to then hopefully give you some sort of insight or allow you to understand problems that may be occurring on your project, or that may have occurred 6 months ago because you finally got the data right. And so the challenge here that a lot of customers have, a lot of projects have in terms of getting insight analytics is, again, the inconsistent project delivery processes, those data standards, and adherence to those data standards and processes as well. You have those mavericks who may deviate from those standards. But many customers and companies and projects have initiatives and are looking to achieve certain outcomes around standardizing project delivery and globally, not just in one office, but across their entire enterprise. And with our solutions, customers are finally starting to be able to achieve these things and these outcomes by standardizing how they execute projects, by standardizing folder structures and data structures and standards, and normalizing how they execute projects, no matter what the size, no matter who the customer, no matter what solution they're using. And this is resulting in unprecedented insight into project execution. And we need to be able to use this knowledge to be able to re-baseline our bids. A lot of our bids on projects today are based on the way we've always done it, and outdated ways of thinking and outdated ways of estimating. And everybody's looking for faster, cheaper, better, safer, right? And data is going to allow us to get there and to reach those goals. And so I'll talk to you about a few ways in which our platforms are helping our customers get insight into their project execution. First is around the insight module of our platform, where project teams can easily configure custom dashboards to understand things like design issues, RFI trends, coordination issues that are arising in the field, RFIs, cost-related issues, etc. By standardizing the way this information is collected and managed, we're able to provide our customers with insight across the project lifecycle. And we understand that data is not going to all be in one place. There are many different tools and data silos, if you will, on your project and that are involved in project execution. And so being able to easily integrate data from other sources into our platform is a key pillar of ours. And so you see here partner cards that we're able to integrate with a click of a button into our project's insight page to be able to connect data across our project ecosystem and into a single pane of glass. And artificial intelligence and machine learning is something I'm going to be talking about today at 2:30 in our breakout around creating buildable packages. But these concepts of AI and machine learning cannot be achieved without data. They rely heavily, almost that's all they need, right? They need data in order to be able to leverage these innovative ways of getting insight into all sorts of questions or problems that may be arising on our project. And by having structured, standardized data and lots of it, we can then start to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to predict risk and move towards more leading indicators versus lagging indicators. And so here you see a couple of screenshots of our Construction IQ, where we're alerting project managers and executives around risks on their projects. For example, quality risks. Who are my high risk subcontractors? What are my high risk issues? And what issues may be overdue? And then being able to look at a 30,000 foot level across our entire project portfolio and understand where are my high risk projects and where do I need to be focusing my time as a change agent, and see how perhaps those projects are performing over time, and see where risk is being introduced along their project timeline. Some going very well, some hitting a couple bumps in the road, and then some towards the top that have obviously gone off the rails. And so we're able to use information to point us in the right direction versus try to clean up data and make sense of it before we're able to get those actionable insights. Using artificial intelligence and machine learning, we're able to bring those insights forward and really speed up and improve decision making. Safety is a huge factor and a huge risk on all of our projects, and so by collecting and managing safety data within our platforms, we're able to see, for example, the fatal 4 safety issues and see those trends over time on our project, and see which subcontractors or trades or crews are contributing to perhaps a high risk on my project, and make sure we're taking action and corrective action on those risks and getting that risk mitigated. I'll cover a couple of more advanced ways of leveraging data. You're probably all familiar with business intelligence platforms like Power BI or ClickView or Tableau. But early in my presentation, I mentioned the unprecedented data that our platforms are capturing, creating, and managing that we really never had access to before. Here you're seeing data from a project that was created and finished within our platform, and we're able to get tremendous insight into how our resources were aligned to this project over time, the activities that have taken place over time, what types of actions are the designers in the US versus the designers in APAC doing. This particular project was executed both in the US and both in APAC. We can see what are the top actions, what are the most popular files or common files, and then what are those deliverables that are being touched or looked at or interacted with the most. In this case, it was a line list was the most popular document in terms of the number of collaborators, followed by the plot plan. Go figure. So if we were executing projects on a J drive, on a project drive, using VPN, we would not be able to get any of this insight that we can then use to start comparing projects to projects, to start driving those leading indicators, and to start predicting that risk. Here we can see our project resources by role over time. We can see when the US started and then the APAC came on board. We can see where admin activities are taking place. We can use this information to compare actuals versus estimates in terms of our resource plans, and use this information to better baseline and have better bids and resourcing on our projects. And we can see lots of different information. Here we're seeing this project, the number one file extension was DWG, so it was a very AutoCAD, Autodesk based project and deliverables. But over time, we're able to see how those deliverables were created. At the very front of the project, we're able to see where it was images, PDF files, and Microsoft Office files. Think Excel, Word docs, etc. And then in about February, maybe mid-January, we're seeing where our Autodesk or AutoCAD deliverables start to pick up in terms of activities and being created. And we're able to see here in purple when the project received reality capture information. So you can see that this project received point cloud data or laser scan data over halfway through the project. And by having access to this data, we're able to then compare it to other projects and then start drawing correlations. Maybe by moving up when the project team receives that point cloud data, I might have better outcomes in terms of less revisions. I'm able to meet the schedule. I'm able to meet the costs. I'm able to reduce RFIs in the field. Traditional ways of executing projects have not been able to provide us with this type of insight. And so this is really the tip of the iceberg. We're simply just visualizing data that the platform is creating and managing. And now it's up to us to start interpreting this information and start identifying trends. And even today, platforms like Power BI already have out-of-the-box visualizations that are run by artificial intelligence and machine learning. So they're really democratizing what can be done now in terms of advanced analytics and insight. And this last example here is around a particular drawing, this master.dwg file. It was that kind of master file that was used to federate all of the different designs, the model files for the projects. And so we can see at an individual file level how many people collaborated on it, how many versions. We're managing almost 1,700 versions of this master.dwg file, and we can go back and see what version 200 looked like and compare that to version 460, for example, and see how many actions were performed on this drawing. But we can start to use this data to understand, what are my popular deliverables? What am I spending the most time developing in terms of deliverables? We can also use this information if we start, connecting the data that the Autodesk Construction Cloud is creating and managing. We start connecting it or integrating it with other project data, maybe the schedule or milestone, my 30, 60, 90 milestones, or my IFC, piping isometric milestones. We can start, correlating, some of these trends that we're seeing, and perhaps even let people downstream know that a revision is coming soon, because we're looking at what we've issued for construction, and then see if those drawings are still being touched and modified by the engineering contractor. And so we can actually start predicting revisions, for example, and so that will help those downstream consumers of that information, maybe a planner, for example, know that, hey, this package you're about to issue to the field, hey, a revision is going to be coming soon, and you need to understand how that may impact the execution of that package. And so, speaking of executing packages in the field, John Banda talked about being able to capture things like RFIs or issues or delays in the field. And so, by standardizing how we're capturing things like delays, we're able to then trend and graph this data and see, at the very beginning of this project, we had some permitting issues here in yellow. And so, over time, those permitting issues have gone away. Perhaps they've taken, corrective action, and what is taking so long in getting these permits out the door. But understanding, how many hours are being impacted by different delay codes, and what delay codes are the most popular, and what packages have been impacted the most in terms of delays, and what foremen or GFs out in the field are experiencing the most delays. And so being able to use this information, developing leading indicators, we can start being more proactive and more predictive in terms of mitigating risks. And John Rodriguez talked a lot about completions and commissioning. Here's another great example of leveraging the data that's being captured and managed by the Autodesk Construction Cloud to get further insight into mechanical completion punch lists, by system, what's their status, what disciplines are we experiencing the most punch list items, what's the priority, what's the class, who's responsible for this information. I'll talk more about, in my panel, how data can be used with a 3D model to visualize this data more contextually and see, from a 3D model perspective, what systems are facing challenges when it comes to mechanical completions and turnover. And so to wrap up, you really need a data strategy and a standardized approach to project execution in order to get the most value from that data. Data is a commodity. It's not how much data you have, it's what you do with it that's really going to give you that competitive advantage. And so by leveraging standardized data, we're able to get insight analytics into trends and other correlations, really help drive and speed up decision making. We're all looking to improve decision making. Decisions are being made all the time. And with artificial intelligence and machine learning, we're looking to really move that decision making to computers, because they can make a lot faster decisions with and more informed decisions than we can. But it's also about being able to compare projects, compare apples to apples, and be able to correlate different trends on different projects to different outcomes. When we received reality capture data early on in the project and design, we had much better outcomes versus receiving it at the very end, which could cause lots of rework and revisions of those designs that may have already been issued or approved. And again, artificial intelligence and machine learning will not work unless you have data to support those. And so I encourage everybody to better understand what your company is doing in terms of the data strategy and how your project execution is supporting these types of things. So with that, I will hand it over to Chuck Meese to wrap it up with partner integrations.
Well, thank you, Cody. So we've talked a lot about the construction cloud, but it's important to understand that we're part of a larger ecosystem. And when you think about this idea of the Autodesk Construction Cloud, it's also not just what we do, but it's what our partners can do by using these best of breed applications and working with them to integrate directly with our cloud. And if you start to think about what are the types of companies that have integrated with the Autodesk Construction Cloud, you can quickly get overwhelmed because there's an incredible number of companies that have done an integration. And this is not even all of the logos of companies that have done an integration with the construction cloud, went through our QA/QC process, and actually had this integration published. But there are 5 that I think are important for us to understand in the world of advanced work packaging. Datum 360, which has been mentioned in John Rodriguez's presentation, IConstruct, which has been mentioned in John Banda's presentation. I want to introduce to you O3 Solutions in the world of advanced work packaging, SiteSense from Intelliwave and materials management, as well as Blacksmith Softwork workface planning. Let's start with Datum 360. So Datum 360 is really about this idea of being a trusted source of truth. Notice I didn't say a single source of truth, because one of the benefits of working with a platform like Datum 360 is the ability to aggregate data that exists in its native form into a single platform. To do that against a class library where you specified what you want for the ultimate outcomes in data, and you can actually track against that. It's about the powerful features that Datum gives you in acquiring data, being able to read data from other applications through APIs, being able to scrub data off of 2-dimensional PDF deliverables and incorporate that into your overall data strategy. It does all of this with complete auditability. You know who entered the data, when the data was changed, and what the last time the data was, and how current the data is. And then all of this is done with some robust API integrations. The example John Rodriguez talked about was truly the Autodesk platform and the Datum 360 platform utilizing modern APIs to integrate into a single solution. So it's really about this idea of AWP data management, tag management, intelligence scraping, dashboard reporting, etc. Datum 360, you're a trusted source of truth. IConstruct. IConstruct has been a partner of Autodesk for a long time. They integrate with both our desktop solution, Navisworks, as well as the Autodesk Construction Cloud. The first thing I'd like to highlight, and John Banda has mentioned it in getting the model to the field, is their IConstruct Pro module, which is what was used to do some of that model reconstructing, model optimization, and model segmentation to take that giant model and get it accessible and manageable within the phone. Once that model has been conditioned, you can then use the AWP control panel from IConstruct to start beginning the packages of integrating other data sources from material, scheduling, etc., and using that control panel to start building your packages. The packages can then be managed through the IConstruct Genus module, which is integrated fully through Forge with the Autodesk Construction Cloud to take this information, put it out into the field, integrate with field workflows that have been mentioned, such as checklists and issues. O3 Solutions is our next partner, and O3 Solutions is a modern, born in the cloud from the beginning SaaS solution for managing advanced work packaging. They're really scalable, being that cloud solution from any size project. They are modern and web-based, but it's purpose-built to support the entire project. By integrating with the Autodesk Construction Cloud through Forge, they have the ability to read all of the model formats that we can read, which is virtually everything that's out there today. So you can view almost any three-dimensional or two-dimensional document through their system. The status visualization supports 10 different work package types, and their mantra is, we will meet the client whether they're beginning their process at a crawl, whether they're walking through their process in midstream, or whether they're fully implemented, they're actually running. So our next solution that I'd like to highlight is SiteSense from Intelliwave. This is a materials management solution that is really based on making sure you have the right material at the right time in the right place. In our previous plenary session, there was a lot of discussion that was talked about material management and questions asked about what types of software can be used for material management. SiteSense is a really strong application supporting both web and mobile, all sizes of projects, but through their integration with the Autodesk Construction Cloud, that gives you the ability to access critical SiteSense material information directly inside the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform. You can have inventory status that's reported to you through our platform, as well as dynamically color and understand the material status utilizing our Navisworks platform. And the final partner I'd like to mention is Blacksmith Softwork Face Planning. They are a front-end planning and IWP management solution that's fully integrated on the Autodesk Construction Cloud via Autodesk Forge. They have very specialized reports that can support artificial intelligence guides for workface planners. They get into helping you with your estimating and budgeting integration. And one of the newest features that they've just added to their platform is the ability to integrate laser scanning in the cloud and give you version compare of reality capture data so you can understand the differences that might exist from one reality capture solution to another. So you can see there's now a robust ecosystem of partners focused at advanced work packaging that you can integrate with. 3 of them are presenting here at the conference. O3 is actually presenting opposite us right now. So I would suggest that you go back and you watch their recording later. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., IConstruct and Intelliwave will unfortunately be presenting opposite each other. So I'll ask you to attend one of them live and pick up the second one on a recording. So great partner presentations. So I want to now open it up to some questions that have come in. And John Banda, I'm going to actually start with you on the first question, which is there a limit to the size of the model that your client was able to get out to their phone?
So this is a very common question, especially first off. And I have to say, one of the wonders of cloud computing is we haven't really found that size limit. What we have found that affects performance, though, is like orphan references or too many objects that have too many sides, and you're trying to, when you zoom in, it'll explode itself. So that's why we use IConstruct, is order to fix those orphan references, to kind of polish out some of those polys so that it performs optimally. But we've really not seen a limit to the size, although we have had customers cut them up into smaller chunks so it performs even faster and they can do more with it.
Excellent. Cody, the next question is for you. It came in during your section on collaborative design. Are these workflows only applicable to Autodesk software?
Oh, yeah, great question. So the answer is no, absolutely not. We know that Autodesk is not the only solution out there, and our customers have a toolbox of technology, right, depending upon the project needs or customer requirements. And so the beauty of our platform is that it's agnostic, and so we can work and manage with just about every file format that you can manage on your project drive and Windows Explorer. We have customers that are using our platforms and managing those PCF files that came up earlier, and they're managing that collaboration between the engineering contractor with the PCF files, and then maybe the pipe stress analysis team that's maybe using Caesar 2, and then the pipe fabricator that may be using something like Spoolgen. So no, we're able to really manage just about any data type within our platform and ensure that people are able to collaborate and have access to the latest and greatest information.
Excellent. I've got time for one more question. So John Rodriguez, I've got one for you. Is this the only project that your customer has implemented their integration on?
The answer is no. So they continued to leverage the platform outside of actually the Datum integrations. They wanted to start doing all their commissioning on digital. So they were not going to go back to paper, and they have not. I believe to date, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40 other projects, smaller projects, of course. So scalable, right? You can scale this down, you can scale it up. And they're now looking at integrating the whole solution across all commissioning.
Excellent. So that's all the time we have for questions. For those of you who may have asked a question that we didn't get to, I'm sorry. I want to give you some final thoughts so we can be mindful of time and end this on the right time. So the first thing I want you to understand is what makes the Autodesk Construction Cloud different. And the first one is that the Autodesk Construction Cloud is all about unified data. I heard something one time that I think is important, and that is, in today's modern architectures, the single source of truth does not reside in a single place. It was said by a Microsoft data architect, and I've always remembered that because you shouldn't have to aggregate data together into a single big system to have access to all of that data. Cody's given a lot of examples of how we, through our APIs, have been able to integrate with data that resides in these other systems. The second thing that I think makes this important is this idea of business insights. The section that Cody presented, speaking about all of the different ways that he was able to help his customer visualize the information that existed through their implementation of the construction cloud. I mean, the one that stuck with me was looking at, was my offshore engineering hours versus my onshore engineering hours, were they in line with what I had estimated? Was that going to affect my cost and profitability on the project? There's a lot of things that I thought came up with there. The third thing I want you to understand is that we are an enterprise grade solution. Cody's example, we're talking about integrating this on 15,000 projects, 15,000 end users. The Autodesk Construction Cloud being built on Autodesk Forge is truly enterprise grade. And last but not least, it's really all about pervasive simplicity. It should be easy to use these platforms with simple UIs. And when we get to the field, they should be UI should be designed to be interacted with by guys wearing gloves, holding a phone, right? You got to think about how are we ultimately going to consume this data? Where can you go to learn more? Right after this presentation, I'll post the PDF of these slides to the Autodesk booth. Stop by, download the PDF. You'll have all of these links to the available resources like the Autodesk AWP site, links to the Autodesk Construction Cloud, Autodesk Forge, Autodesk Construction Cloud Connect, as well as a site that lists all of our integration partners. Maybe you want to look at something along the lines of time management. Maybe there's a solution like Rumbix that might make sense to you, another one of the integration partners. So I want to wrap up with a final thought. And it's the same thought I started the presentation with, and that is, what is your new possible? We've shown you 4 distinct workflows today, but integrated workflows that started early in design, through field execution, completions and commissioning, insights across all of that. We've also exposed you to partners that can give you best-in-class solutions for the things that we may have not spoken about today. So if you put all of this together, you should be asking yourself the question, what is your new possible? We thank you so much for attending our session today, and we welcome any questions through the rest of the event. I would like to encourage all of you to, when you exit our session and go back to the portal, select the next session that you want to attend, and we'll see you there. Thank you so much.